Tonight on Global Television News Prime, President Tinubu arrives Anambra on one-day working visit. In business, U.S. removes tariffs on UK steel, aluminum, cuts car rates to 10%. On the foreign scene, America's Robert Francis Prevost announced as new pope. And in sports, under-20 Flying Eagles arrive Islamia for quarter-final showdown in 2025 AFCON. Thank you so very much, everyone, for joining us here tonight from around Nigeria and across the world on News Prime here on Global Television, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. I am Uyi Agmofwebe, reminding all of our viewers that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times 276. You can download the Global TV Nigeria mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our 247 broadcasts. Tonight, we'll begin by telling you President Bola Tinubu has arrived in Anambra State for a one-day working visit to inaugurate key development projects executed by the state government. Welcoming the president were several dignitaries, including Anambra State Governor Professor Chukwuma Soludo, his deputy Onyeka Chukwu Ibezim, members of the House of Assembly, top dignitaries from the state, among others. The House of Representatives has passed for a second reading a bill for an act to establish the National Electoral Offences Commission. Sponsor of the bill, Adebayo Olusegun Balogun, explained that the proposed commission is intended to relieve the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, of the responsibility of prosecuting electoral offenders. Queen Agaba has details. We'll bring you those details later. Let's stay with the legislature now, where the House of Representatives has resolved to urge the federal government to establish compressed natural gas conversion centers equitably across the country to give all Nigerians a sense of belonging. It also mandated the Committee on Gas Resources to ensure compliance and report back within 4 weeks. The resolution followed a motion by Honorable Aliyu Madaki, who noted that while the presidential compressed natural gas aims to lower living costs and reduce environmental pollution, the distribution of conversion centers has been uneven. He expressed concern that apart from Kaduna, no states in the northwest or northeast benefits from the initiative, despite the commercial viability of states like Kano, Borno, Katsina, and Sokoto. Some lawmakers also contributed to the debates, expressing worry over the exclusion of commercially viable states such as Kano, Borno, Katsina, and Sokoto from the initiative.
Aware that for the takeoff of the Presidential Compressed Gas Initiative, the federal government proposed to establish CNG combustion centers in some states, including Abia, Bayelsa, Cross River, and Ebonyi, with one center each, while Akwa Ibom has 5 centers, Delta 9 centers, Edo with 11 centers, Ekiti with 7 centers, Enugu and Kogi with 3 centers, FCT Abuja 3 centers, Kaduna with 10 centers, Kwara with 8 centers, and Lagos with 70 centers.
We are calling for the policy implementers to please vindicate this government. We know government has done their best, but let the policy makers consider Northeast. There is no single CNG center in the whole of Northeast sub-region.
But look at the entire northeast of this part of this country was completely ignored. And look at the 80% of the northwest corridor of this country was completely exempted. That is the corridors, not even the cities. The corridors where commuters will fly. And then the main aim of this initiative is to give relief to the Nigerian masses occasioned by the transitive hardship as a result of fuel subsidy.
The House of Representatives has also called on the federal government to collaborate with state governments to construct additional National Youth Service Corps orientation camps and expand existing ones to accommodate at least 5,000 corps members in every state of the Federation. The House also urged the Federal Ministry of Youth, in partnership with relevant stakeholders, to develop a clear framework for achieving the construction and expansion of these camps.
That some states lack orientation camps to accommodate and meet the increasing number of corps members deployed, while other states temporarily utilize secondary schools buildings to accommodate prospective corps members. Disturbed by the current dilapidated state of permanent orientation camps in the country, which is causing dissatisfaction due to inadequate facilities, overstretching the existing facilities, leaving corps members with no options other than to be.
This resolution followed the adoption of a motion moved by Honorable Garba Muhammad. Uyi Agmofwebe, reporting for Global TV News. The Armed Forces of Nigeria says it has neutralized scores of terrorists, including one of their leaders known as Onkwachieze, popularly referred to as Ono, who has been on the wanted list of the military. Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Miracles Kangie, made this known while addressing journalists on the operational activities of the armed forces in Abuja. Defense correspondent Kekelomo Okere reports. All right, we'll join Kekelomo Okere subsequently for those details. In the meantime, Governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara State has tasked the 2025 Amirul Hajj Committee to ensure the general well-being of the state pilgrims throughout the pilgrimage. The 2025 Zamfara State Amirul Hajj Committee was inaugurated at the Council Chamber of the Government House in Gusau, and Alhaji Garba Muhammad Tambari, the Emir of Maradun, will serve as its chairman. Kabir Hassan tells us more.
While inaugurating the committee, Zamfara State Governor Dauda Lawal says the team is expected to ensure a successful Hajj operation and the welfare, safety and comfort of Zamfara State pilgrims.
As an administration, we recognize the facilitating a successful Hajj operation is not merely an administrative duty, but a spiritual obligation. The welfare, safety and comfort of our pilgrims must be the cornerstone of our efforts.
He urged the committee to maintain a strong working relationship with the Zamfara State Hajj Commission, relevant federal agencies and Saudi partners to ensure smooth coordination and real-time problem solving. Hassan Kabir reporting for Global TV.
Thank you, Kabir. Wife of the President, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has commissioned a 100-bed mother and child center in Awomama, Oro East local government area of Imo State. Represented by the wife of the Vice President, Ajia Nana Shitima, the First Lady's visit is part of the federal government's drive to improve maternal and child health under the Sustainable Development Goals program. Amarachi Ibe now reports.
The First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, continues to champion the welfare of women and children across the country. In Imo State, her name now graces a new 100-bed mother and child center, built in Awomama under the SDG initiative. Representing the First Lady at the commissioning was Hajia Nana Shetima, wife of the Vice President, who emphasized the center's importance in addressing maternal and child health challenges in rural communities.
We must continue to emphasize the vital importance of maternal health care and building a healthier society. I therefore urge our women and members of this community to take this advantage of the services available at this mother and child center. I also charge you to take ownership of this center. It is for your benefits and the welfare of your children.
Speaking at the event, Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma says the naming of the center after the First Lady is a tribute to her tireless service to women and vulnerable groups nationwide. He added that the facility aligns with ongoing state-led health reforms, including the renovation of 305 primary health centers in collaboration with the World Bank, deployment of mobile clinics, and revitalization of general hospitals and teaching institutions across Imo State.
Our administration is deeply committed to reducing maternal and child mortality linked to inadequate facilities and healthcare assets. This new hospital directly supports that mission and expands the reach of modern healthcare in our state. Having personally visited the site ahead of this event, I can attest that this hospital was delivered to specification, equipped with modern medical technology, and ready to serve.
The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, Princess Adejoke Olarope, explained that the project is one of the several initiatives being implemented across Nigeria under the Sustainable Development Goal 3, which focuses on good health and well-being.
And promises made by your reliable, responsible, and responsive President, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who believes that no woman should die or no child should die when giving birth. Women is vessel of life and should be protected and preserved.
With the commissioning of the Senator Oluremi Tinubu Mother and Child Center, Our Mama becomes a critical part of Imo's growing health infrastructure dedicated to safe motherhood and child survival. From Our Mama in Oru East Local Government Area, Amarachi Ibe, reporting for Global TV News.
Following 6 defections from its fold, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the House of Representatives has lost 3 of its former members to the All Progressives Congress, APC. The defecting lawmakers are Demba Balarabe, representing Bakori Danja constituency of Katsina State, Ilyasu Abubakar, representing Batsari Safana Dan Musa constituency of Katsina State, and Yusuf Majigiri, representing Mashi Dutsi constituency of Katsina State. Kekalamo Okere has more.
The lawmakers' defection was formally announced in a letter read on the floor of the House of Representatives by Speaker Abbas Tajuddin during plenary. In the letter, the lawmakers cited lingering unresolved crisis within PDP, which they claim had made it impossible for them to remain in the party. They described the situation as a chronic, incurable crisis that continues to plague the party.
To formally inform you and the Honorable House of my decision to resign my membership of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and declare for the All Progressive Congress, APC. The primary reason for my defection is the high level of chronic crisis without cure and internal divisions currently plaguing the PDP.
Notably, the governor of Katsina State, along with several dignitaries from the state, was present in the chamber to witness the defection. Kekelomo Okere, Global Television News.
Zamfara State government has reaffirmed its commitment to supporting programs that promote family planning among women as a means to improving maternal health and overall well-being. Representing the Commissioner for Health, Dr. Nafisa Maradun, the Executive Secretary of the Hospital Services Management Board, Mustafa Marafa, gave this assurance during the commencement of a specialized training for health providers on the use of hormonal intrauterine devices, IUDs, in Gusau, the state capital. Ogochukwu Mobuno has details.
This training brought together nurses and midwives from 25 healthcare facilities across Zamfara State. Representing the Commissioner for Health, Dr. Nafisa Maradun, the Executive Secretary of the Hospital Service Management Board, Mustafa Marafa, says the training is designed to equip frontline healthcare workers with both the practical skills and data management knowledge needed to scale up family planning services in the state.
There are very big issues that has to do with family planning in our population. And I think this NGO is ready to provide, especially the new hormonal IUD that is maybe new and uncommon and is very safe usage. Number two,
the coordinator of family planning at the Zamfara State Primary Healthcare Board, Shafatu Abubakar, stressed the need for continuous awareness campaigns to dispel myths and encourage more women to embrace the hormonal IUD method as a safe and effective family planning option.
Safety of hormonal IUD is I think, is 100% safe, and it's even easier to use for all women, women of childbearing age, because it even prevents women from cervical cancer and other cancer that affecting women. So I think it's almost 100% safe.
The Executive Director of the Health for Life and Development Foundation, Dr. Abubakar Danladi, highlighting that the training is part of a broader initiative to increase the acceptance and uptake of hormonal IUDs in Zamfara. He noted that participants are expected to replicate the training in their respective health facilities with supervision and follow-up over a 6-week period.
So we are building the capacity of the family planning provider towards achieving increased uptake of this family planning method called hormonal IUD. To achieve one is to ensure that this group of participants are well equipped to provide quality family planning services for the hormonal IUD. And the second one is that they are also equipped to conduct training to colleagues at the facility level.
The training is expected to significantly enhance the quality of reproductive health services in Zamfara, contributing to reducing maternal mortality and improved health outcomes for women. Ogochukwu Mobno reporting for Global Television News.
You're watching the live broadcast of News Prime with Uyi Agmofebe. When the rest of News Prime returns tonight, 2025 Under-20 AFCON Flying Eagles arrive in Somalia for quarter-final showdown. Details of these shortly, plus business and foreign stories on the other side of this break. Do stay with us. The rest of the news tonight returns with business, where the Nigerian Senate has approved 2 out of 4 key tax reform bills, marking a major step in the ongoing overhaul of Nigeria's tax administration system. The bills passed include one to repeal the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act and another to establish both the Joint Revenue Board and the Nigeria Revenue Service. Ramsin Enoch Agbo has details.
The tax reform bills were adopted after detailed review and a third reading on the Senate floor. Presenting the committee report, Senator Sani Musa, chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, emphasized that the tax reform legislation is vital for President Bola Tinubu's vision of growing Nigeria's economy to $1 trillion by 2030. He stressed the importance of creating laws that are practical, beneficial, and enduring beyond the current administration, reflecting the true needs of Nigerians.
Recommendation on the tax administration bill, which is one of the areas that have generated a lot of controversies. We have addressed that, and what we did with that recommendation is that the federal government will be taking 10% from the VAT distribution. We did not amend the present VAT structure. We left it at 7.5% instead of increasing it as was recommended. So in that structure, we said 10% of that collection will be for the federal government, 55% of that collection will go to the state government and the Federal Capital Territory, and 35% to the local governments.
President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, expressed confidence that the reforms will improve governance and transform the way taxes are collected and distributed nationwide.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to repeal the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act number 13, 2007, and then enact the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Act to establish the Nigeria Revenue Service, charged with the powers of assessment, collection of, and accounting for revenue accruing to the government of the Federation and for leisure matters 2025, third reading taken and passed.
Akpabio assured that the remaining two bills would be concluded the next day, even if it requires extended sitting hours. Ramsey Enoch Agbo reporting for Global TV News.
Thank you, Ramsey. On the foreign scene, Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost of the United States has been elected the 267th Pope and has stepped onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica as the new leader of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics. He's now known as Pope Leo XIV. Prevost, 69, from Chicago, Illinois, is the first ever Pope from the United States. In the first words as a Pope, a visibly emotional Leo said to the crowd in St. Peter's Square, "Peace be unto all." Let's turn to other stories tonight. The controversy over the status of Taiwan was the focus of a public enlightenment program organized by the Center for China Studies and Center for Contemporary China-Africa Research. Dr. Austin Maho, a lecturer at the International Institute of Journalism, charged the Nigerian media on factual and unbiased reporting on the status of Taiwan. Foreign correspondent Ramsey Enoch Agbo was there for Global TV.
Countries from all over the world, because of President Trump's leadership, are desperate and dying.
We encourage Kamala Harris to continue going out and do speaking engagements. You'll hear from the president at 11 o'clock.
We need to have a trade relationship with China that does not do harm to our nation's economic and national security. And that has to be the guidepost of any objective. At the same time, tariffs will bring significant revenue into this country that will allow us to pursue our dramatic plan of tax cuts and reforms. We'll move it in operation.
Our sincere apologies for that mix-up. We'll bring you that story in a subsequent bulletin. But here is an update from the foreign scene.
Senegalese lawmakers have begun debating whether to allow several former ministers face charges before a special court over accusations they embezzled funds meant for the country's fight against COVID-19. The country's National Assembly is largely controlled by President Bassirou Diomaye Faye's party, who was elected in March last year on a promise to change how the West African country is run compared to his predecessors. Faye has made the fight against corruption a policy priority, launching investigations into the administration of Macky Sall, who was president from 2012 for 12 years. Away from Africa, India and Pakistan have exchanged heavy artillery along their contested frontier after New Delhi launched deadly missile strikes on its arch-rival in the worst violence between the nuclear-armed neighbors in 2 decades.
India has demonstrated considerable restraint in its response. However, it must be said that the Indian armed forces are fully prepared to respond to Pakistani misadventures, if any.
Meanwhile, the European Union has called on India and Pakistan to act immediately to de-escalate tensions after the most serious military confrontation between the nuclear-armed neighbors in 2 decades.
We do
urge both sides to show restraint and take immediate steps towards de-escalation. The EU recalls the need for a negotiated, mutually agreed and lasting peaceful solution to the conflict.
The fighting came 2 weeks after New Delhi blamed Islamabad for backing an attack on the Indian-run side of disputed Kashmir. At least 38 deaths were reported, with Islamabad saying 26 civilians were killed by the Indian strikes and firing along the border, and New Delhi adding at least 12 people from Pakistani shelling. In a different development, King Charles III has joined veterans and other members of the royal family at London's Westminster Abbey for a service to mark 80 years since the end of World War II. Arriving at the Abbey, the King and his eldest son, Prince William, laid wreaths at the church tomb of the unknown warrior. Wartime Prime Minister Winston Churchill's 10-year-old great-grandson Alexander lit a candle of peace during the service, which was preceded by a nationwide 2-minute silence. Prime Minister Keir Starmer and other politicians, as well as dignitaries, were also in attendance. Uyi Agmofwegbe, reporting for Global TV News. And that's all we'll have for you tonight on News Prime here on Global Television. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using Global TV NG, as well as other handles now showing on your screen. You can download the Global TV Nigeria mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our 247 broadcast. On behalf of my colleagues who have made tonight's news broadcast possible, I'm Uyi Agmofwegbe, appreciating you for your time. Bye-bye.